Good evening, everyone. We're going to call our special committee of the whole, special committee of the whole meeting to order for Wednesday, October the 29th, 2025 at 7:01 p.m. Approve the agenda. We have a motion that the special committee of the whole agenda for October the 29th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Roux. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Council, anybody have a declaration of peculiar interest tonight? Seeing none, this is budget night number one. We'll start off by saying thanks to staff. I think we're in really good shape. The budget's looking great. I think we'll have some dialogue and we're going to hit the timelines that we've got in the report. So thank you. Number two is our finance and corporate services section. I'm going to turn the chair to Councillor Marchand, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll just echo those sentiments. Want to thank staff for the public consultation meetings conducted today, and certainly the presentation is very informative. And we'll start off with our consent agenda item. That the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. The Tourist Information Center Staffing Sharing Agreement. Is there any question? Can I get we'll put it on the floor if there's any questions or comment. Moved by Councillor Duras, seconded by Councillor Leroux. Any questions or comments with regards to the consent agenda? Your Worship, go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for the report. I think the Tourist Information Center relationship with the Chamber has been a really positive one, and I love seeing the traffic and everything that happens there. I think this is unfortunate. I'm hopeful that we can find a way forward. I guess my question and inquiry for staff is if we could evaluate any opportunities that potentially the museum could fill that role for us, because I think it is a nucleus down at the town dock and it's been a great center of influence for residents and visitors. So I'm just looking to see if maybe you can take that for consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, matters for consideration. So we'll be dealing with item B, the 2026 budget financial requests. So you will see that there are a number of attachments, and before I read the motions for the various attachments that are presented before us, I will just provide some highlight, and then we can look and see if there's any that we'd like to pull for further discussion, okay? So items 1 through 5 are annual and reoccurring financial requests that are made to the town are included in the budget on an annual basis. Attachments number 6 and 7 are 2 new requests for funding. The first one from the Guest House Shelter for $5,000 and the second one for Boats and Beyond Committee for $15,000. So the purpose of this report is certainly to highlight the requests being made and provide any overview in terms of the year-over-year budget. So each attached report is very detailed in terms of last year's budget, current, and then what that variance looks like, both in a financial perspective and a percentage. Note that any of the any of the requests presented here, if we wish to have them come in, can also do a delegation at the November 19th Special Committee of Council. Before I read each one, is there any that Council would like to pull for further discussion before we read through the entire motion? Your Worship?
I'd like to pull Community Reach, Guest House, and Boats and Beyond.
Okay, so that's attachment 4, 6, and 7. Any others from members of council? Okay, so then can I proceed then to read a motion for the other, what does that leave us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other attachments as a motion to vote on those? And then we'll pull each one individually? Does that work okay? All right. 4 of them. Apparently I can't do math. It's a good thing I didn't get my calculator up fast enough. Thank you. Sorry, that's what the 4 was, Bill. Thank you, co-chair. I appreciate that. My apologies. Okay, so I'm going to read the motion. Okay, sorry. Bear with me here, team. Okay, the motion that the 2026 financial request reports related to documents be received for discussion and that so that $538,150 for the Penetanguishene Public Library's operating budget remain in the 2026 budget for council consideration. And further, that the $45,640 for the Huroney Airport Commission remain in the 2026 budget for council consideration. And further, that $141,930 for the Severn Sound Environmental Association remain in the 2026 budget for consideration. And further, that $10,000, my apologies, for the Georgian Bay Physician Recruitment Program remain in the 2026 budget for council consideration. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Waters, second by Deputy Mayor LaRose. All those in favor? Carried, opposed, that motion carries. Okay, so I am going to then, at this time, we will pull the first one, which is from Community Reach. And Your Worship, did you want to start with that one?
Thank you. I said this last year, and I'll say the same thing this year. I think Community Reach does good work, and this isn't about the work that they provide. Recently, as council will know, the town of Midland has made an announcement publicly that they want to reassess transit and the delivery of transit service in the community. We've done a combined RFP between our two communities, and there's an exploration of microtransit and what that's going to provide. While no decision has been made, it's potential that could have an impact on the operations of Community Reach. If I look at some of the other budget requests, whether it's physician recruitment or otherwise, no one's asked for a 10% increase year over year, where Community Reach has. If I look at the financial statements that they submitted with the request, they're in a deficit position with the financial statements from last year. It does risk that it does state in there in a few spots that there is some areas of concern and some risk, although management's confirmed it's not, but it has grown over year. I'm just concerned that potentially we're going down a different path. So at a minimum, council, I would suggest we keep this where it was last year without a 10% increase, but overall, I still believe that there's other options and we're exploring other options from a transit delivery perspective. Those are my comments.
Councillor Drush.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the work that Community Reach certainly does provide to the community, but in this letter, it's very vague. They don't tell us, there's no stats, there's no information as to how many of Penetanguishene residents they assist. So I would suggest that we invite them at our next council meeting, at our next budget meeting, to come and present to us their information. I would like to see more specifics as it relates to the town of Penetanguishene. And I'd also like to understand why they're asking for a 10% increase, where that increase would go. I know for years now they have not, I don't believe, have had much of an increase as they present. But that being said, I'd still like to hear it from their leadership as far as, you know, what they're offering to our residents specifically and why they're looking for an increase. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Drush. Any other members of council?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would agree with Councillor Drush. I think that I would like to have them come and present and explain why.
Okay. Do I need a motion to?
Apologies. We're there. A motion would be great. Chair Marchand, if we could just have something simply like that Community Reach be invited to the special committee of the whole meeting of November 19th. Something like that would do. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Drush, can I ask you to just put that on the floor?
Certainly, and maybe we can add that they come to present and that they bring forward, you know, relevant stats regarding Penetanguishene usage or whatnot. And yes, I'd pass that motion. Thank you.
Second, Councillor Leroux. Do you have enough there, Deputy Clerk or Clerk? Excuse me. Sorry. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. And next, the guest house shelter. Your worship, did you want to comment on that first?
Thank you. I'll just keep this one brief. I'm wholeheartedly opposed to this one. This council supported, not this council, the council of the town of Penetanguishene supported guest house years ago. And I think what we were anticipating we were going to do and what we did were two different things. The county of Simcoe is responsible for social, affordable, attainable housing. I think this is a county of Simcoe project. I know the county of Simcoe has been working to provide help and support. The town of Midland's been asking for help and support. And I think let's let the county of Simcoe manage this situation. It's no different other formulas we've talked about. I think it's appropriate for the county. So I think we should not support this.
Any other members of council comments on this? Did we want to put a motion forward? Sorry, Councillor Duresh.
I'd just maybe like to comment, when I saw the request, I do understand that this falls under the county of Simcoe's jurisdiction, but, physician recruitment certainly isn't a municipal responsibility either. And again, in the scope of things, I feel that homelessness is something that we're more or less helpless we're helpless in so many ways that we cannot, it's not mandated by us, and it's not something that we do. But a $5,000 amount is, to me, it is substantial, I guess, but in the big scheme of things in our budget, it's a token of our recognition that they may be dealing with some homeless people who are maybe residents of Penetanguishene. So although I hear what the mayor is saying, I also feel that this is a bigger project than, it's a big project in our community. It's certainly, I feel it is an asset to our community that we have a shelter that folks can actually use. So I would not be opposed to, I don't know the history of the guest house, the guest house shelter. I don't know the history with the town, but at face value, I'd be prepared to support a $5,000 donation.
Any other members of council? Go ahead, Your Worship. I know.
Thank you. I just have a small follow-up, and I appreciate Councillor Rush's comments and feedback. And I don't disagree with your comment about physician recruitment. If you recall, at previous budget times, we did talk about MRI and hospitals, and we talked about the work that the county is doing with the Hospital Alliance and really how we can help support with one concerted effort doing this. And I don't disagree on the $5,000 comment, but every $5,000 ask, equates to something. And why I'm really emphasizing the county, the county's team that leads this focus has tremendous bench strength, and this is what they do. Again, we've been updated, the Deputy Mayor and I recently, about the 10-year affordable housing and homeless prevention strategy by the County of Simcoe. And I think a lot of really good work's being done. And even a small token of $5,000 can go against strategy and decision that's the county is doing. If we feel that strongly, I would suggest no different than our economic advisory work that we're doing in the county, then let's work with the county, work in conjunction. I just don't want to go in an opposite direction that's already being done, and they are boots on ground managing the situation. So I hear you and I agree with you. I think we're all doing it, but I really feel the county is doing that work, and they've been working there. And I know my counterpart in Midland's been working with the county to really leverage and do more work to help the guest house. So it's not an opposition. It's just, I think we should just focus on what we're here to focus on. But I appreciate Councillor Rush's comments.
I'm just going to add some additional comments. I think I support that we have to be mindful that we have one community shelter. It does happen to be in Midland, but it does house anyone most marginalized individuals in various communities, not just Midland. They come from Tay, Tiny, Penetanguishene, Midland. you know, we did have a community grant program that we allowed for submissions for such items like this, capital expenditures and fixes. And we decided that as a council that we got rid of that, and we didn't, you know, look at having that to be able to help some organizations. And I think it's much more than, you know, the county stepping up. I don't think us supporting 5,000 is going to derail the work that's being done at the county level. So I would like to put a motion on the floor. I think it would be beneficial for us to have the guest house come in and present at the November 19th special at the next COW meeting to review budget, so that we can get an understanding of the work that has been done and what this means historically and perhaps going forward. So I'd like to motion that we request the guest house shelter to come in and do a presentation at the November 19th special committee of the whole. Can I get some, I can move that, right? No, I can't move that. Sorry, I put the motion. Councillor DeRush, seconder. Councillor Leroux, all those in favor? Opposed? Sorry, Councillor, what did you vote? Yes or no? Approve. Okay, thank you. So that motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, finally, attachment 7 is the boats and beyond. And Your Worship, you asked to pull that. Did you want to comment first?
Thank you. I think this is good. I mentioned this at our last committee of the whole or last council meeting. I think this is a positive one. I'm hopeful we can support this on a couple caveats. I think this needs to flow through our Economic Advisory Committee. I think we need some accountabilities with staff. I think it needs to align with our corporate strategic plan. I think it needs to align with our branding guidelines. I think I mentioned last time, I support this. I think the boats idea and theme makes sense, but if our branding exercise comes out saying we should be butterflies, then we probably shouldn't do this. So I just wanted to say, let's keep this as a placeholder, add it to Economic Advisory, let staff to manage that through our strategic plan branding. I just want to add those comments and direction if we can.
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor DeRush, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Of course, I'm always excited when I see these kinds of initiatives from volunteers within our community. It shows great engagement and it's very exciting. But that being said, I would agree with the mayor that I think it's premature. I agree that this would have to align with our branding exercise, which unfortunately is scheduled for 2027, I believe. 2026 now, this year? Ooh, okay, so we might be able to pull it off. But so we'd have to do the branding. Plus, these would be considered volunteers of the town of Penetanguishene. And I feel strongly that we need to have a program that would treat all our volunteers equally and train them accordingly and provide them direction accordingly. Plus, it is just a committee, like it's, at this point, it's just a group of volunteers who are coming forward. But I think if we're going to be supporting this initiative, I think it would be only fair that it may want to be a committee of council, and that we would open it up to the public, because other people may want to also get engaged in this kind of initiative. So that it's not just great people, of course, who are engaged, but I think we need to open that up so that we are transparent and we provide opportunity to everyone to participate to some this initiative. And again, as everything that volunteers do for any municipality or town, it has to fit within the corporate strategic plan. It has to fit within the needs of the municipality. It has to follow the guidelines we set in place for any engagement from the community or volunteers. So I think there's quite a bit of work to do before we actually plunge in and move forward. So although we can certainly leave it as a placeholder, I think it's premature for this year. I think that there's still quite a bit of work to do. And what we don't want to do is get started on something and then the parameters aren't set and then there's a pull and tug, because we don't want to waste their time and we don't want to have to possibly interfere in their momentum. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeRush. Any other members of council? Councillor Bettencourt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments. First of all, I don't disagree with what has been said by the mayor and Councillor DeRush. It is a big undertaking. We obviously have some very enthusiastic volunteers. I would not want to diminish what they're trying to do or their efforts. I was quite impressed with their presentation when they came and presented a few months back. So perhaps that 15,000 can be looked at in terms of, what's going to happen realistically in 2026, and then later as things unfold, as Councillor DeRush advised. The other piece of this, Madam Chair, is just when I see along with staff guidance, that implies that staff are going to be engaged, and I would want to make sure that we have sufficient capacity within our staff to take on additional staff guidance as outlined in the request. So that, in my opinion, should form part of that review, just to make sure we have the capacity to be able to do it. But paramount, I don't want to discourage these volunteers from the work that they want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Yeah, Councillor Leroux.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Some years ago, we had a committee here that was called the Downtown Divas that beautified our main street for quite a number of years. And they were the same type of people. As a matter of fact, two of those people that are on this committee or proposed committee, Linda McQuaig and Dorothy Coombs, were both part of those diva ladies. I have to say that they're not just very enthusiastic, they're also very capable. The people that are there. This thing came about actually where I was actually involved, because Jenny and I were in the city of Orillia, and walking the main street of Orillia, on all their poles were birds. And I don't disagree with branding, but I think if we're going to look at branding, it should be something that is heritage or legacy to the town of Penetanguishene. And there's nothing more heritage going back than 150 years of boating and boating companies that have taken place here. I would have to disagree with all of this. I would like this to go forward. I don't see why we would put it off, because these ladies are ready to go. And I can assure you they're very capable of doing it. And I know that they've been informed that they would have to work in conjunction with the town, as a matter of fact, with our new economic development officer. And so I don't see why we would want to not have it go forward.
Any other members of council? I just have a few comments as well. I do appreciate the enthusiasm of the group. I do feel that it's important that we do the branding strategy. It very much could be that this is the strategy or the branding that we align on. I'm concerned that there's an arbitrary number of $15,000, where that is a large sum of money without any kind of budget outlined and what that would look like. So I won't be supporting this motion, primarily because there isn't enough information to validate a $15,000 spend on the main street. And so I do appreciate the enthusiasm. It's wonderful to have this. I think I also agree with Councillor DeRush. There may be an opportunity for other individuals in the community, and to Councillor Bettencourt, what does this mean for staff in addition in terms of supporting and doing this work? So, so I will read the motion. Is there any other comments or questions? Is there anything more? So at this point, I'll read the motion. That the 2026 financial request report and related documents be received for discussion, and that 15,000 for the boats and beyond committee be included in the 2026 budget draft number 2 for council consideration. All those in favor? Opposed? Sorry, Councillor Ward, did you have your hand up? I didn't see. Support it? Okay. So that motion carries. If you could just lift your hand up so I can see, please, when we're voting, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Okay, so the next item for consideration is item C, staffing request, cashier/reception. I will put the motion on the floor, and And any questions, we can allow for questions to be asked at that point. That the current permanent part-time cashier/receptionist position to full-time position with an increased operating budget of $7,944 be included in the 2026 draft number 2 budget for council consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Mover, Councillor Waters, seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Leroux, any comments or questions? Deputy LaRose.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions with the next bunch that are coming up to us. For this one, I wonder what has taken place that requires us to have another person. If council recalls, a year ago we added one person to the finance department so they would have more time. And I just wonder, with all the onboard billing that people are doing online, our online swimming lessons, it's less and less people actually trafficking into the front office. So I'm having a hard time understanding why we would want to convert this job.
Councillor Drush.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is just expanding a staff member from a 4-day work week to a 5-day. So it's just increasing an 80% position to a 100% position. Is this correct?
Carrie, yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Through you, Madam Chair.
Did you have any additional comments for Deputy LaRose with regards to work-related volumes that have perhaps increased?
As far as it is a current permanent part-time position, working 4 days a week. We are proposing an increase of 0.2 to bring it up to a 100% full-time position as cashier receptionist. As far as people calling, walking in, paying online, etc., we do have increased software implemented departmentally. Planning and development has their own software. Recreation has their own software. While it may reduce obviously some of those people from coming in that do pay online, the end result is that for the finance department, those online transactions actually increase the workload in terms of manually having to input them into our accounting system versus uploading. Some of our software does do that, some does not. So from a back-end finance point of view, bringing services online actually in some circumstances increases the finance department's workload. Certainly, with the other cashier receptionist that we do have, her primary responsibility would be utility billing and dealing with the inquiries related to water bills. So our request really proposes that part-time cashier receptionist whose primary responsibility is just that, it become a full-time position so that the other position at the front can spend that utility billing time that she needs to complete those responsibilities.
Thank you. Your Worship, you had a comment?
Thank you. It's actually about all these roles. I'm not sure how you want to handle them, Madam Chair, but if you're planning on doing it the same way we did and pull them each and discuss it. And I say that because I don't know where council is tonight, but I'm not sure if this council tonight in a sense that we're going to approve all of them. And I'm wondering if maybe the discussion should be from a council perspective, what are we willing to entertain from a percentage standpoint, or how much dollars? And maybe we can push that back to the CO and the team to come back next draft where they can further whittle this down. I further say that because some of the staff requests that are here, I think everyone's got some questions about them, but I think there are others that have potentially some competing interests, and I'm happy to get into what those are at the time comes. I just wonder how you anticipate we want to manage all these this evening.
I anticipated we were all prepared to come and discuss them. We hadn't provided any other direction to staff on how we're presenting staffing, and I believe this is how we've done it in the past with the justifications. So I am open to council's direction in terms of whether we want to go through each one, or if it is with a position of where we're looking at a percentage to have that go back to our staff. But I think that's direction we need to provide, because we hadn't provided any other different direction with regards to making staffing requests that have always been our budgetary process. So that's where, as a section, when we had our discussion on Monday, the sense was, similar to kind of some of the first, each of the sections, but each of these were presented and laid out in business plans and justifications, and felt that each were warranted a discussion in terms of that. So is there competing priorities? I think that's a valid statement, but it's our roles as council to have reviewed the package, the justification, to make those determinations, unless we're looking to put something different on the floor tonight, Your Worship. Okay. Any other comments or questions with regards to the the first staffing request? That was Councillor Drush.
I heard the information from the director. I might add that just like council decided to go ballot voting for the next election, because some people need to come into the office to do their business. They want to come in, they want to vote, they want to have a paper. Same thing applies to paying bills, coming in the office, getting their information about whatever it is they're getting information about. So if you've ever stood around at the front, which we do when we do flag raising, you see a constant flow of people coming in because they like to do things in person. So I think this addresses the same population that we're changing our voting system to address. So I think it's hand in hand. So I would definitely support this position. Thank you.
Deputy LaRose.
Thank you. Just a comment. Our population has not changed that much. We have more people online. If you're saying you don't want people to go online because it's a harder thing to do for staff, let us know, because I'm sure we're paying large software bills to have this software. So what has changed over the last, say, 36 months, 48 months that they need a person? They wanted one last year. We gave them one last year. Now this year they want another one. Which changed? We didn't have 1,000 houses come online. So where has the workload changed? So either we're not buying the right software, or we're not having the right people do what needs to be done, because we're not, in my estimation, upping the amount of volume.
I think for just further clarity, we're increasing an individual who's a 4-day a week to a 5 days a week. So that's we're not at, this is not a request for a full position. It is a request for a 0.2. But Carrie, did you want to?
Thank you, Madam Chair, for clarifying. So in terms of the question was what has changed. I certainly, although providing software and online services obviously is our goal in terms of providing efficient and excellent service to our residents and our customers. We are bringing on more customer portals as we speak, and there'll be property tax and utility billing portals as we speak that are in progress. It still means that the back end to process those electronic transactions, it doesn't reduce our time. We're doing it for the customers and for the residents. We're not doing it, and I didn't mean it if that's the way it was sounded, that in terms of the work for the finance staff. And in terms of what's changed, nothing's really changed in terms of, the requests that we put through for that part-time person. that was approved. But in my report, I do mention that years ago, there were six positions in the finance department that for whatever reason, we went down to 5 positions, and now we're just slowly trying to build that back up with that part-time position to 5.8, let's say, is where we're at today. And that 0.2 would bring us back to 6 positions in the finance department that we feel we do need and did have in past years.
Your worship, you had a question?
Thank you. I think Councillor Drush hit it on the head when she talked about flag raisins and the demand for service at the counter. And I agree, and I would echo your comments, Councillor Drush. I think another question we could ask, and it states it in the report about demands, and I think it's unfortunate we don't have the data. I would love to see the number of residents and patrons that present to the counter and the phones. I appreciate the report states, unfortunately, I don't have that data, but to Deputy Mayor's comment, it'd be nice to be able to see that trend data to be able to substantiate that. But my point is, Council, maybe this is time for us to look at service delivery changes. So here's my example. We talk in the report about service excellence and that the expectation is that someone will answer the phone. I'm personally okay with an auto attendant. If we want to make that change, let's do that. Here's my example. If you call here and it's possible, I'll use the CEO as the example. If he's away today, you call, you get a live person at the desk and they say, let me see, oh, he's not in, and you get his voicemail. So I didn't get any further ahead, I got his voicemail. So why don't we put the times and provide some opportunity, to Councillor Rush's comment, when you show up at the counter, you should get help and service. And maybe the remote calls and the online calls, they filter through the system. Maybe this is a service delivery that we need to look at right now and ask staff to come back with, how can we do that? Later in the report tonight, we're going to talk about new phone system. I think now's the time that we talk about how should the new phone system work. And I'm actually okay with doing that from a service delivery change perspective. I don't think we have to have someone answer that phone all the time. I'd rather the person at the counter get service.
Thank you. Any other comments from members of council? Seeing none, the motion was put on the floor. It was first and seconded, and I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Next is staffing request by bylaw officer for summer student, that a part-time bylaw enforcement officer summer student position with an increased operating cost of $17,734 be included in the 2026 budget draft number 2 for council consideration. Can I get a mover and seconder to put that on the floor? Moved by by Mayor Rawson, my apologies. Seconded, Councillor Drush. Any questions or comments with regards to this report? Councillor Bedevancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want a clarification. I think I read this report that we have 2 full-time municipal law enforcement officer positions. However, this past year we did not fill one of them, and we had 2 part-time. And what this request is for an additional summer student. So we would have 2 full-time and a summer student. Am I correct in how I'm reading this report? Okay. I found it confusing when it was talked about 1 full-time and then we had 2 students this year because of staffing issues. I wasn't sure what was being asked. So thank you.
Thank you for clarifying. Any other questions with regards to this report? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. Oh, sorry, Councillor Drush.
I just have a few questions. The first question is, has the town ever, I know probably the town does apply to Canada Summer Jobs for summer students for funding, I would expect, yes. And is this have we ever had a bylaw summer student? Is this the first time or?
So I'll answer that one. No, this won't be the first time we've had a summer student in bylaw department. And I do believe years ago when we did employ summer students in the role, we did receive the grants for them.
Okay, so that more or less answers that question. So there's always a possibility of seeing this amount reduced if we are successful in receiving funding through the Canada Summer Jobs. So that's maybe a little bit of an incentive there. The other thing is I would hope that if this does get approved and we do get a summer student, that we're creative with their hours, because there's nothing worse than it's 10 o'clock at night on a Saturday night and you've got a honking fire next to you and the music going on and there's no bylaw to call. So if we're going to have a summer student, I hope we're creative in our hours so that we can cover those awkward times when it would be quite advantageous to be able to call bylaw rather than the OPP. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Cheaper, right? Any other questions or comments with regards to this ask? Seeing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor? None opposed. That motion carries. The next staffing request is distribution and supply operator. That a 6-month OIT contract be replaced with a full-time distribution and supply operator with an increased operating cost of $64,000 be included in the 2026 budget draft number 2 for council consideration. Anyone looking could move to put that on the floor for comments or questions? Councillor Leroux, Councillor Doresh move, Councillor Doresh second. Comments or questions with regards to this request? Your worship, and then Councillor Bedevancourt.
Thank you. If you don't mind, Madam Chair, this one, staff request distribution and supply operator. I'm also going to make comments regarding G, staff request wastewater operator. I want to be careful about my comments, but we have had conversations, council, and some of them have been enclosed, about future operational plans within the department and how we can streamline operations, provide some redundancy, sustainability, cross-training and the like. And I think there's a lot of work that's been considered and factored. And I think we need to look at all sides and provide the depth and the support and the leadership. And I just want to make sure that we're not handcuffing our thinking and our thoughts as we move forward with requests like these. That's my comments.
Thank you. Any other, oh, sorry, Councillor Bedevancourt, you also had comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We had a lengthy discussion at section about this position and the next position in G, and the director was very forthcoming with answers, good justification for the position. It's I really struggled. I'll be honest, I struggled with this one and I struggled with the next one in terms of the justification, perhaps a little bit more on the next one, and I'll explain why. I understand that we do have maintenance issues. The director was very clear in terms of we are meeting our municipal license requirements with respect to our water system. So that is good to hear, and we hear our reports with respect to our annual water reports, and we're performing very, very well. There is a shortfall on maintenance. We already engage a third party to do some maintenance for us, and we discussed perhaps maybe looking at other ways of meeting our maintenance obligations, because as we know, if we slow down on the maintenance, just over time, things will come back and bite us and be more expensive. So as I said, we had a good discussion. I'm struggling with this particular one. Thank you.
The only other comments I would add is certainly the challenges with bringing in a 6-month contract and the time it takes for all the other staff to have to train this individual for 6 months. This person then leaves. They often aren't coming back, or they're being successful in full-time opportunities. So we're training people to go to other municipalities and do this work, I think is really a big is what we're seeing with this. And when we have continued turnover, it continues to be a strain on the staff that are having to train these individuals on a regular basis. And agree with your comments, Your Worship, as well, with regards to how we look at efficiencies and as individuals retire, and looking at our the structure of the organization. I have always felt that we've ran the Water and Wastewater Department very lean in this organization, and the group does a phenomenal job. But the other piece too around the maintenance is a concern that if we're always trying to play catch up, then we're never ahead of the maintenance piece. It could be quite costly in the end. I did see in the other report with G, when we looked at the water operator, just some of those pieces around how we're saving different funding in terms of not using other resources or third parties as well. And I didn't see that so much in this particular report, but I do anticipate that we wouldn't be using a third party to do those maintenances from that perspective. Those are just some of my general comments and observations on this particular one. Councillor DeRush and then Deputy LaRose.
Thank you very much. So as we know, we're looking at these staffing positions and we know we can't approve all of them because it would be, 2% increase in taxation. And it would be a difficult, I think, sell to justify all of this increase in staffing. But within the Department of Public Works, we have 3 positions that have been requested. And I'm just wondering if it would be worthwhile to have the Director in Public Works review those positions and maybe advise us as to what's essential here. What's something that can't be, that really is very crucial to have in the budget this time around. And then it would help us in maybe making decisions moving forward. Because for me, again, I read this and of course I understand none of these requests are frivolous. And I definitely understand that from staff. Nothing's frivolous here. They're all things that are needed within their departments. But as decision makers, again, maybe council is prepared to say yes to all of these positions. Maybe I'm incorrect in my assumptions, but I find it really hard to believe that we'll be able to push this through. So for me, it would be very helpful if I knew what would really make a difference and essential within the Public Works Department in this next year coming.
Deputy LaRose.
Thank you. As Councillor Bradbourne said, we had a large discussion about this at section, and we were struggling with it. The director took the time to walk us through the positions. As Councillor said, we're meeting our certificate of approval. We're not in problems with the ministry. The water's good, the sewers are good, everything's running running all right. We are a little bit behind on the maintenance. I do believe that has to do with it's a small staff, it's 4 people. We had some people that were on sick leave, a little more than normal would ever happen. So to me, it's an anomaly. I don't believe it's a worthwhile cause for us to go and hire a new person. The other issue we struggled with was we're in the middle of our rate study, our water and sewer rate study. We're in year 3, 4 out of 5, I believe it was, and we never accounted for any of that. So for us to bring on that position and the other one would be rates. It wouldn't be tax support, it'd be rates, but we would have to say that our rates that we've told the people are going to be X, Y, Z for the next 3 or 4 years would all have to be changed. And I'm just not ready for that.
Councillor LaRue, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's in regards to G, the staffing request for a wastewater operator. Just some clarification on that. From my understanding, we have 2 employees that are leaving and retiring and will no longer be there, which means there's 2 salaries that will be gone. How does this affect this one here that we're requesting a wastewater treatment operator at this kind of money? when the money should actually be there from the ones that I have gone.
Your worship, you had another comment?
Yeah, it's an increase FT, Councillor. Madam Chair, I think there's a lot of questions from my view, and I'm hearing that from peers. I think there's a lot of other questions. I think there's some other pieces that we've all talked about. I would love to defer this back to staff, let them do a little more fine tuning. Personally, I don't know how council's feeling, but I'd love to hear more information. And I think some information as a follow-up to our last close that can help us out with some of these questions. I would suggest we defer that and get more details.
And just for clarity, and Councillor DeRush, you also raised some questions. Are we looking to defer item E and G as it relates to water and wastewater positions that are brought forward? Okay, so can I, Councillor Bedevancourt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to speak to G when we got there, but now it may be deferred, so I may lose my opportunity to speak. So I'm not sure how best to proceed.
Well, right now we had put E on the floor. We had a mover and a seconder, so we probably have to deal with that first. Okay, thank you. Councillor DeRush?
Maybe just to add, I don't know what more information could be brought forward in the next meeting because there was a lot of information provided to us. And Councillor Bedevancourt did say that at their section meeting, the director did speak to them and it was very informative. So would it be appropriate to have the director go through these items with us and maybe bring some clarity to the justifications and whatnot? I mean, because again, for him to come back, I don't know what additional information he's going to provide that we don't already have in front of us.
Director Murray, would you like to comment on that?
Certainly, through you, Madam Chair. Again, the staffing request for the both, I guess I'll speak to both positions to be efficient. Both staffing requests are for a full-time staffing equivalent. So in addition to the existing staff on both the water and wastewater operations. The mayor had spoken to the discussion around future operation models for the water and wastewater division. Again, I see this as separate and apart from that. The water and wastewater operations require, based on our maintenance and day-to-day requirements, require a full-time staffing equivalent in both to meet those maintenance requirements. So regardless of what operational model we use in the future, the daily requirement for maintenance operation of the plants will still require those additional staffing, regardless of which option or which model we implement. So I see these are staffing requests to meet the existing operational requirements of the systems themselves, and not necessarily a reflection of the operational model that we're currently operating under.
Thank you for that. So I will go back because we did put this item on the floor. We have a mover and a seconder. There's been lots of comment and feedback. We all are going to call for a vote for this motion. Councillor Bedevancourt.
I thought the mayor mentioned something about a deferral. I don't know if he was proposing to put that forward as a motion and then seek a seconder. I'm not sure. Madam Chair.
I do have this one on the floor. We had a mover and a seconder, so I do have to address this one first, correct? I'm trying to just make sure from a procedure perspective I'm doing the right thing.
No. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, there is a mover and a seconder on the floor for this motion. However, if it's the will of council to refer back to staff, that can still be done at this point.
So at this point, Councillor Betancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One question that we didn't discuss at section is with respect to the impact on the water department budget. And so we do have a water plan with respect to how much we spend on operating and how much we contribute to reserves to support our water program. And this is a $64,000 addition to that budget, and I'd be interested to know what the impact is on our water division program, because we didn't talk about that when we were at that section.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Betancourt, just a question for clarification. So are you asking what the impact on the proposed rate structure would be if the staffing request were to go ahead?
Yeah, so that's, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, that's on the revenue side, but I was also curious on the expenditure side. Are we having to give something up from an expenditure side to bring this position in?
In terms of the budget itself, with the additional staffing requests, obviously the additional wages and benefits would obviously have to be accommodated within the operating budget of both the water and wastewater divisions. Having said that, though, with the additional maintenance that we could do with an additional full-time staff, the benefit of that is we're avoiding future potentially costly repairs due to lack of maintenance. So that would be the benefit of the staffing request. Again, as you'd pointed out, Councillor Betancourt, we didn't accommodate this in the last rate structure update. However, again, I think this has a positive impact in terms of the operations, in terms of avoiding costly repairs, in terms of maintenance and pump plant maintenance.
Councillor DeRush.
Thank you. I also wanted to maybe circle back to something that Councillor Marchand did mention, that this is a 6-month contract position that we're talking about. And rightfully so, when you train somebody on contract, you have to train them like a full-time. They work for you, and inevitably when a full-time job comes around, they apply for it and they get it. And I know that water folks, people who are certified and who are qualified in this field are in demand, and it would be, I guess, maybe not very efficient. It wouldn't be efficient to be training contract positions and losing them to full-time positions elsewhere. So for that reason, I will be supporting this. Thank you.
So at this point, I think I'm going to call for the vote. There's no other motion on the floor or direction. Well, it's at the will of council. Okay, so is there the will of council to make any other motion to defer this, or are we looking to proceed here? Seeing no response, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is defeated. Okay, next item on the agenda, staffing requests for engineering technician. That a full-time engineering technician position with an increased operating budget expense of $98,396 be included in the 2026 draft 2 budget for council consideration. Are you moving, Councillor Betancourt? Seconder, Councillor Waters. Any questions or comments? Councillor Betancourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So like the previous position, we discussed this one at length at section. This one has the potential of saving some external costs that the town currently incurs through third-party consultants. So there is some benefit in bringing these services in-house that can be delivered by this particular position. Not only within the Public Works Department, but as a service to other departments such as the Planning Department and other departments within the municipality. Also, it also gives us the ability to do small design projects, small projects that are not complicated, that can be done by this position under the supervision of our director, who is a professional engineer. So there are significant benefits with this. And just anecdotally, Madam Chair, I've seen in past experience the benefits of bringing a position like this in-house in terms of what it can do to assist the organization. So I'll be supporting this one. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Your Worship.
Thank you. Questions for our director, Mr. Murray. Brian, on page 3, I think this is what Councillor Bada-Bunker was talking about. It says, on average, it's estimated that over $100,000 annually is charged to applicants for third-party engineering or technical review of planning applications, which I believe is what Councillor Bada-Bunker was saying. This places a considerable cost on the development community. My understanding is $100,000 a pass-through cost. So $100,000 on a cost we're born, we pass it through the developer. So there's no cost to the municipality. I can appreciate this role is going to help reduce demands for all kinds of services that the municipality offers. And I also understand that the amount that we'll have to send out to consultants will be less, and we're going to provide better service and quicker response. I appreciate all that. Here's my question. If this position was in place, how much do you think that $100,000 to third parties, which is pass-through costs anyways, how much is that going to decrease? So that's question one. My second question is, on the report, it says developer cost recovery, 15% is about $14,759. So that's what we're going to bill out to the developers for our work. But I'd be really interested to know how much is that can decrease the amount that we would originally send out to those third-party consultants.
Through you, Madam Chair, to His Worship, I would anticipate of that 100,000 that we do pass through to the developer. I think I would say, on average, on an annual basis, we could probably save 10,000, 10 to 15,000 on an annual basis that we're currently charging through third-party consultants. So 10 to 15,000, we would probably be able to reduce that on an annual basis with this one position.
Okay, follow up if I can. So they're not a real big impact to the developer community, as we talk about 100,000. You're saying we're going to decrease it 10% about. So would it be fair to state then the other support that's going to benefit are all those other services you're talking about? It's not really the design and development work that we're still going to continue farming that out. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, the bulk of the design and the development related review work, a lot of that would still be required from third-party consultants because they provide those specialized services. It would reduce for certainly, but we would still have a need to go out to third-party consultants for specialized reviews, and the potential for improvements is I think largely weighed on the internal staffing, so the project management of internal capital projects that we do on an annual basis, the management of those capital projects both internally and externally for other departments, and also just the time it takes to do field reviews for developments as well is also a significant cost savings as well.
Any other member of council? Yeah, go ahead.
Right. Just to build on what the Director of Public Works said, I do want to note that, as you mentioned, the development community, we have both big developers and some small-time developers itself. And so, as Brian mentioned, there would be the bulk of the work that's farmed out to third-party consultants would be for those big developers. What we are finding is it's the smaller, lot grading, small site plan developments. Those ones are the ones that would really benefit in the reduced costs that's being sought under this position that would also expedite some of that development application. That was one piece of the piece of Brian's staffing ask. The second piece, I think, is just on the level of the work that's being done over the development we've had over the past couple of years, that I think Brian's team's seen the impacts on that, as well as certifying subdivisions, certifying lot gradings, reviewing lot gradings, all of that. So this is a very busy position, and that I think it would expedite some of the development applications and provide an increased level of service to that community.
Thank you for those additional comments. Council, any other questions or comments with regards to this report? Seeing none, we had a mover and seconder. I've read the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Item G, staffing request, wastewater operator, that a wastewater treatment operator position with an increased operating budget of $93,912 be included in the 2026 draft number 2 budget for council consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put that out there? Moved by Councillor Duresh, seconded by Councillor Waters. Question, comments? I know we've talked a little bit about this one. Any additional comments or questions? Councillor Bedebankar.
Thank you. As I said, we discussed this one as well at length at section, and part of, excuse me, part of what we talked about was the consultant's report that we considered at our last committee of the whole, looking at options with respect to the Fox Street sewage treatment plant. And I know some decisions have to be made with respect to that, but one of the decisions, one of the options is that sewage treatment plant be decommissioned and turned into a sewage pumping station. So it wouldn't require the same degree of staff involvement as the current sewage treatment plant involves. Now, it's recognized that's a couple of years away, but as we discussed, when you hire a full-time position, you've got that full-time position there. And we've seen a little bit of turnover in the wastewater division. And we want to, when we hire somebody, we're going to have them for a while. And so my concern was about engaging another full-time staff member, and then possibly not having the work to justify that in a couple of years, given that the possible changeover of the Fox Street sewage treatment plant. So that was kind of where I was with respect to the position at our section meeting, and that's why I'm having a difficult time supporting this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of council have questions or comments with regards to this? Excuse me, seeing none, we're going to call for the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is defeated. Next, we have item 8, staffing request, facility management, that a full-time staff operator position transition to a facility lead hand position with an increased operating budget of $9,241 be included in the 2026 draft number 2 budget for council consideration, and that a permanent part-time facility operator position transition to full-time facility operator position with an increased operating budget of $32,678 be included in the 2026 draft number 2 budget for council consideration. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Waters, second by Councillor Duresh. Questions or comments from any member of council with regards to this report? Councillor Waters, go ahead, and then your worship.
It says here that they would be looking after the curling club, the arena, or Memorial Community Center, and various other buildings around town. I was wondering if the library could be included in that. This is a public building. Is that something, I don't know how to add that, but that would be my wish.
Director Desjardins, can you address that question?
Thank you, Councillor Waters, through you, Madam Chair. So there is comment, provided some comment in the staff report about inclusion of the library. The library maintains care and control of their own operating budget with respect to building maintenance and a variety of other matters. What staff is proposing, and does happen on some degree now, is that anytime the facilities manager, when centralized procurement activities happen, so for example, if we put in a contract in place to service elevators, that we reach out to the library and say, would you like us to include the library? We will continue to do that and offer some efficiencies, but respect that the library maintain care and control of their own budget in building maintenance.
Follow-up, Councillor Waters?
So just to make sure I'm clear on this, then, so the library would still have the ability of relying on your expertise as well, then?
To a certain degree, yes.
Thank you. Your worship, go ahead.
Thank you. I was actually going to state what Councillor Waters stated. I think the library is a municipal asset. I don't want to speak for the CO, but I don't know if her expertise and her love and passion is building maintenance and support. And I've been hearing about some of the basement renos. I personally think there's a way forward. I would love for our town to talk with the board and talk with the CO and make this happen. I appreciate the way it's articulated. But when I look at the report, it says the museum is going to save 4 hours a week for what I assume Nicole's doing there right now for building maintenance. And it says water division's 2 hours and water is 2 hours and fire is 1 hour. That's no different than the library. And I'm sure if we asked the CEO right now and said, if you're spending 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 hours, she would gladly say here. I echo Councillor Waters and say, let's make this work, that all of our assets are maintained by this assets manager, facilities manager. Those are my comments.
I definitely, I would support that this is, that's something that we look into, and just ensuring that, you know, as the library is also governed by a separate board and a separate act, that we're in compliance and that we can do this collectively. But, you know, we did highlight the other buildings as well, that we have partnerships and support as well. Any other comments with regards to this report, Councillor Doresh?
I just have a general comment, I guess. I think this is a smart request. I think it streamlines the services. It sets up the expectation as to what we can expect in municipal facilities, and everything, all that knowledge is is centralized, so that when we come forward with any kind of maintenance comments or requests or whatnot, that it's done efficiently. So I certainly will be supporting this. Thank you.
Worship, go ahead.
Just to make it clear, I'd like to move an amendment to this then, to have staff work with the library to add and include the library in the work of this position, this role.
So we would look to defer this item to come back to.
Staff can work, staff this up.
CO Lees, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one point, and certainly happy to engage the library. The library does have a facilities or a, I don't know the position title, and I know Linda's here with us, but happy to have that conversation with the library. They do have someone on staff that does assist with facility maintenance. So is there opportunity there? I'm not suggesting there's not opportunity, but certainly will form part of the conversation if committee has a desire to incorporate the library into this particular staffing reorg. I think that will be part of the conversation in terms of the staffing that the library has on staff today from a facilities perspective. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, CO Lees. And I think if there are potential positions, implications, that this is maybe something we should defer and have this go back to staff to have some further discussions to review before it comes back for a vote. I know I would feel more comfortable just ensuring that, you know, there's been some dialogue other than us nodding at Linda here from that perspective. So I'm happy to defer this, put forward that we defer this this report to have further discussion with regards to maintenance involvement with the library, and that it be brought back to the November 19th Committee of the Whole. All those in favor? Oh, I need a mover for that. Darn, I tried to skip it. Do I still need a mover? So Councillor Waters, seconder. Deputy LaRose, all those in favor? That motion carries. So click. Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so we are on to item 2026, excuse me, item 2026, item I, the 2026 budget draft number 1. And just a few things that would like to point out, because there are various attachments to this. I did want to just start by, first of all, highlighting that we received, great community input and feedback. Council, you all provided your budget survey information, and also the management team, so that is appreciated. The presentation this afternoon and this evening, as it relates to getting feedback from the community as well, is important. I really appreciate the presentation that was done to the public in terms of really highlighting what this budget means for the town of Penetanguishene in terms of the financial increase and what it means from a taxation perspective. The report is extremely well written, and I do commend Carrie and team for the work that is done around the ease of this budget. These are this is a large budget, there's lots of lines, but really do appreciate the clarity in how our budgets are presented. I think we brag about, our ability to get through budgets, and it's because all of this wonderful legwork is done on our behalf, and really prepare us to ensure that we're making really good informed decisions. So I really do appreciate this. As the chair of this section, sometimes I try to look good in this role, but it's because you guys do all of the heavy lifting, and I bring it forward to my colleagues here around the table. And so before I read the motion, I just wanted to highlight those key pieces around the budget that's being brought forward. And really just to emphasize and remind us that back in September, in July, we had provided some direction to staff that we were looking to, have a budget that was, well within reason, that we looked at a net impact of no more than 3%. And then we also provided direction in September that we were looking to have an infrastructure levy of 1% as well. So direction has been provided from us, and staff has come back to present this budget in line with what we had requested of them. You'll note that pages 5 through 6 and 7 of the document really do a really great job, and thank you, Carrie, for summarizing where there's been some cost savings, where there's been some changes, and some of the significant impacts that we're seeing to our budget. Also highlighted through the document is the information with regards to the OPP cap, which is new, and also the potential savings of, the 11% that was applied for this year, that we do have some savings there that could also be carried forward. There was some savings around our annual insurance and benefit costs as well. And again, just really appreciate all of the extensive detail that is provided in the report. So the first the first attachment really is the operating budget from 26 to 28 for 3-year operating. The second attachment is the 10-year capital plan, and 26 to 35 is the 10-year capital funding summary. Attachments 4, 5, and 6 really provided an overview and summary of all the feedback that was pulled together. And then attachment 7 to 10 is each department's justification in terms of their budget proposals and outline around capital. Did I summarize that well? Okay, so I am going to just put the motion on the floor, and then we can get a mover and seconder and have some dialogue. So that the 2026 budget draft number 1 report and related budget documents be received for discussion, and that staff amend the budget as directed and presented draft number 2 at the next special meeting of the whole budget meeting on November 19th of 2025. Can I get a mover? Councillor Waters, seconder. Councillor LaRue. I'm happy to open up the floor to questions and comments. Deputy LaRose, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if we could talk a little bit about Lucy Street in the capital program.
Great. Did you want to ask a question specifically or direct something to Director Murray?
Well, to Director Murray or planning, or I'm not sure who it should go to, but somebody. I'm just wondering why we're trying to push that road through now. Council will recall it's on the corner where the cancer center is. So why are we trying to hook up that road? Is there a development coming, or is there people doing something there? I'm just wondering. It's a large expenditure of money unless we're going to get some recouped.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor LaRose. So the reconstruction and extension is a combination of an extension or growth-related project and an infrastructure renewal project. So it'll include the reconstruction of the existing block between Robert and Jeffrey, and also the extension and servicing of that road, that development road, I'll call it, between Jeffrey and Edward. At the moment, there's one vacant property that is located between Jeffrey and Edward on the west side. That could be serviced by this development, and until such time as the road goes through, it would remain landlocked.
Follow up?
I just wonder why we would want to put it through. It's been a number of years. It's never gone through unless there was a pending development that would help pay for it. Would there be any advantage to the town having it open? I don't. It's not a traffic way. It wouldn't open up anything for us. It would just be one more road to plow and look after that nobody lives on.
Supplemental through you, Madam Chair. Yes, in addition to the development side, there is the one parcel that I did speak of. In addition to, we would be a situation where it would be unlikely that property would ever be developed if it wasn't for the access to the road. It does have access improvement benefits to it in terms of getting traffic in and out of that area, but the extension would primarily be a growth or development related benefit.
Absolutely.
In general, over all the years, we make developers pay for a new road. They're building a new subdivision, they're putting in a road. If this person was coming to us and saying they want a cost share or they're going to pay for the road, I'm okay with that. But if we're not going to, why would we open up a new road with all this money to receive nothing?
Through you, Madam Chair. This particular extension is a situation where the property or the parcel would likely remain vacant without the road going through. It wouldn't be economically viable to develop the property otherwise. So it is one of those situations where, in order to spur growth in a certain area, we would have to proceed with this extension, not unlike what happened with Thompson's Road.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments or questions with regards to the budget being proposed? Your worship, and then Councillor Vettebunker.
I have lots, but I'll just do one. I'll let Councillor Vettebunker go. Just on the same conversation about Lucy Street. Brian, thanks for that. Can you help me understand then what would be the cost? I appreciate we got to redo section road and do water and sewer. What would be the cost proportionate just for the extension then?
I think the total cost of the entire project was about approximately $3 million. I would probably apportion 2/3 of that to the existing block. So about $1.5 to $1.8 million would be probably the first block between Robert Street East and Jeffrey Street. And then the additional extension, because you're not dealing with utilities, it's essentially a greenfield. The cost would be a little bit less than what the reconstruction cost would be.
So 1.2 million, give or take, for a driveway. So in comparison to Thompson Road, opened up entire subdivision with a couple hundred homes, one driveway would get there for 1.2 million, give or take?
one driveway. Potentially, the parcel of property could have multiple. It could be, depending on what the development application is, it could have townhouse homes, or it could be an apartment building. It could be a lot of things. But again, without the road, it's unlikely that parcel would ever be developed.
Okay, Councilor Bettencourt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to comment on the public survey. I found the results very interesting. Just in looking at the responses and some of the things that people thought were important and need to be addressed. Some of them are not budget related. They're just comments, and others are budget related. I'm hoping that staff get the opportunity to go through all these comments and identify the ones that potentially should be action items to look at, because I think there's some good comments that have been made in there. But I wanted to say that I appreciate the feedback from the public. Thank you.
Your Worship, you have some additional comments.
Thank you. All right, I got several. First one, I'm looking at the capital plan attachment number 2 for reference. So my first one's for fire. It's in regards to 889 defibrillators, cost of $15,000. I appreciate this is a partnership with the county and the county's PAD program. My question is, how many? I think about 4, but I'm just looking for clarity.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson, that's for the replacement of 2 defibrillators that we currently have.
Thank you. My next question, Madam Chair, if I can, same thing under fire, M1198, the master fire plan update. So a couple questions. One, I don't believe it's legislated that we need to do this. I believe it's we'll call it a best practice strategic document, helps us move forward. It's been 10 years since we did it. I'm wondering if we were to look at our last master plan, and let's just pretend there's 10 action items, could we get a report card and see how we've done with those action items that came from the master plan? How did we do? How did we fare? How did it guide our work? And is that the same pretext what we'd anticipate with this next fire master plan?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson, yes, we can break it down. I was actually in the middle of writing feverishly here to see what have we done and what have we not done. In my quick review of the 2014 Fire Master Plan, there are several areas that we have accomplished, but there are several areas that we haven't. Most of the areas that we haven't involve staffing to accommodate those needs. So programs that are public education program, as I have up in front of me here, dedicated specifically for seniors. We do some seniors education at Seniors Day, but we don't have a person that's dedicated that can develop programs to turn around and analyze that. One of the requirements or recommendations here is to look at false alarms. Why do we have false alarms? Which ones are they, and what can we do about that? Again, that requires a lot of staff to turn around and break that down. We can take the statistics from the Fire Marshal's office. We do a lot of public education, a lot more than we have, and we continue to in various options, our mediums, but we're still, 111 deaths. So basically 1 every 3 days if we use stats from last year. So there, and again, going through it with where there's, pre-planning. Again, we need staff to be in place to turn around and manage that and organize that. We have a part-time fire prevention officer that puts 1 to 2 days a week in the program or for the services in the municipality. He cannot get to these requirements. So I'm more than willing to turn around and make a list of yes, we have, no, we haven't. A lot of the stuff that is in place that we have not tackled involves staff time and dedicated personnel to turn around and do that. I hope that answers your questions.
It does, thank you. And a follow-up, if you were to poll, and I appreciate if you haven't done this, but if you were to poll your peers, of the 400 plus municipalities in Ontario, how many would have a fire master plan? And I ask because some of our peers at the county are saying, stay away. Stay away from the master plan because it's creating a path that you can't get out of. and we're buckling ourselves down a pathway. So I'd really like to hear if your peers, there's again 400 of them, does 400 municipalities have a fire master plan that they're updating every 10 years?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson, I can't really speak to all 400 municipalities. I will say every municipality that I've worked for, and I've worked for several, they've always had a up-to-date fire master plan. Next door in Midland, our fire master plan was updated in 2022, and we're working through the recommendations there. The benefits of a fire master plan is it gives direction and guidance based on best practices, legislative requirements to the mayor and council to make informed decisions. It allows you to look at a document put together by a third party that's backed by data, science, and legislation, and it gives you the information so you can make an informed decision on the level of service that you want to provide to the municipality. The mayor and council are the authority having jurisdiction. They make the decision on what level of service is provided here. And there's no legislation that mandates a municipality to have a fire master plan. But the best practice is to have one because it gives you the information and you try and tackle them it's a 10-year document revised every 5 years. And it's that way because, perfect example, mandatory certification came in, and now it's going to, as of July 1st, 2026, firefighters need to be certified, or else they can't operate as a firefighter. So that's where it allows us to see what's coming, look at growth and development, look at legislative requirements, best practices, provide that information to the mayor and council, and then they decide, okay, this is the level of service that we can do, and it allows them to look at budget allocations for different areas based on what the recommendation is by the third party, professionals.
Thank you. One more follow-up if I can. I think you just said, and best practice update every 5 years. So is our 14 master plan updated in 2019 or 20 or 21 or 22?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson, our fire master plan is dated 2014. It was not updated. It has not been updated since.
Thank you. Madam Chair, if I can move on. Next question, I think I'll direct it to the CEO and he can send it to whoever he thinks most appropriate. Under FCS on page 1 again, H4 computer hardware software, $85,000. I believe we talked about laptops and computers last year. We talked about the ability, as opposed to having large payouts for computers every so often, that we look to a leasing model, kind of like we're doing with enterprise with our fleets. I believe we're going to look at partnering with CompuSolve about that. So I'm just wondering where we are with that, and if this is part of that, if there's been a look at. I'm just looking for clarity on that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I'm going to ask our Director of Legislative Services to speak to that.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson. Staff, you're correct. Staff have done an evaluation, and it was determined that for the town to transition all our computer and software to a leasing program, we'd have to transition it all. We couldn't have some in a leasing program and some not in a leasing program. So that was going to be more costly. In addition, the town has a relationship with our current service provider and provider of our computer software and infrastructure. And if we were to transition to a leasing program, they would no longer supply our service, our software, or our computer software. So that would also be an issue with what we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you. If I can move on. Thank you. P&D, maybe for Director Betty. Director Betty, H895, Ojibwe Landing Master Plan. I'm excited about this, but I'm just looking for clarity on what does this look like. Is it tied to our OP? Do we have to do it? Can council say we want to put a new Sky Dome there and the Blue Jays are going to play there? Like, can we make a direction we want, or do we have to go through this process, or are there other alternatives for us?
So thank you very much, Your Worship. So the Ojibwe Landing visioning exercise was intended to have that conversation with council about what the land should be. I know we've been several years working through the environmental reports that the Public Works has been doing for the property, and those environmental reports enable the development of the site to be for some of the most sensitive land uses. So we left it very wide open, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, where it's an institutional type of use, but we've never nailed down what that use would be. So I think there's some decision points from the council next year, now that we have the information around the risk assessment, about what it's going to go, what vision, what path, what future will it take. It's not unlike potentially our neighbors in Midland who are working with their waterfront plan, trying to understand what the municipality's role is. Are we the developer? Are we potentially selling it off for a development, or are we partnering with somebody on that? So there's a lot of decision points around what the town is going to do with Ojibwe Landing that this exercise would then enable for council to move it to the next step. So it's not legislated to do this, but it would enable council and the public to understand how to move it forward for development.
Thank you. Thank you. Next page, Public Works comment, and I think something we should celebrate. Brian, a few months ago, we were at Severn Township, and we received $675,000 for the relining of our sewer lines from the curling club to STP, and then again Fox Street over. I appreciate that it was in the budget presentations that Carrie articulated today, and I think it was good news. But we didn't emphasize that we also received $675,000 based on the work that staff and you all did on that project. We were only one of 2 municipalities in Simcoe County that did receive that under the Water Wastewater Grant Program. So kudos, good job, thank you. I wanted to celebrate that because I think that's great work. I do have another one. Next page, RCS. Charles Scott Playground Replacement, which I saw in the presentation tonight. I know we're doing our rec master plan. I feel pretty strongly about this one. I personally don't think we should replace that playground. I lived there since, well, my kids were born. We've been going up there. From my view, and I went by every day, no one uses that park. It is used more for people reading a book and looking at the landscape and the views from the town. The park itself is not used. I personally think, no different from my comment earlier about the phones, we don't need to continue doing everything we do it. It's okay to adjust. I'd rather take the money and put it towards the Merc. I'd rather put it towards Tom Coffin. I'd rather put it towards McGuire. I'd rather put it towards our walking track. And let's put a really nice gazebo and a sitting place where people can go and sit down and read a book. That neighborhood has no kids. So I just feel like that's not a great use of, this is a rinse and repeat of a playground that is not used. I feel pretty strong about that one. So I'll leave that as a comment. I might move something a little bit. If I can move on, Madam Chair, same page 2027, admin and finance under fire. So Chief Renault, literally $3 million here for an aerial truck. A lot of money. And I know you don't control the supply and demand of that. Back in 2010, we purchased the aerial that we have now for $780,000. And now we're looking at its replacement from $780,000 to $3 million. It's silly, but it is what it is. My question, my first question, I have a couple. How many times has that vehicle been called out for service that you needed that aerial truck to go to? So approximately, say in the last 15 years, has it done 1, 10, 100 calls for service?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson, I can only speak to the last 3 years since I've been here. I'm going to suggest that of the fire-related calls, it responds to all of them. For how and when it's used, I would suggest that a good 75% of the fire incidents that we run will be used. It allows us to do a multitude of different things, from rescue to a safe place to ventilate roofs to lighting. But to ask me on the spot what exactly the number is of times we've used it, I simply can't answer that. I can bring that back though.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. But with clarity, I'm not looking for how many times I went on a call. I'm looking for how many times the big letter had to go up and do something that truck was specialized to do that call, if we can. My second question for you. And I appreciate this is the way the world works, but I'm looking at changing the way the world works. The Fire Underwriters Survey certifies vehicles, and my understanding is that there is an ability to certify vehicles past the 20-year mark. So I appreciate first out the door, first 15 years should be that truck. The next 5 years, it should become your second or reserve vehicle. I appreciate that. But the fire underwriters also state that you can extend certification, but you need to check all these boxes, annual certification, the like. I would like to understand what does that look like? Like, is that someone coming up and doing a certification and it's $5,000? So I would really like to appreciate that along with that call volume, because if we can extend this for another 5-10 years and keep putting a couple more dollars into the hat, then maybe we extend that purchase from 2030 to 2035. I think you and your team still have a certified vehicle that meets NFPA and meets the UPS and all the requirements, and also provides us more time to do our asset building for that. So I'd appreciate if we can get a more understanding about that as we move forward through this process.
Do any other members of council have any questions with regards to the operating and capital budget presented before us this evening? Councillor Betabunkwer.
Thank you. I'll let his worship catch his breath there for a second. I want to direct a question on the capital budget to the Director of Legislative Services, dealing with the message board signs. They're referred to as the digital signs. So in 2026 under the capital, we have a budget line item there for $85,000. And if I recall correctly, that represents, is it two signs? Is it one sign, Madam Clerk?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Betabunkwer, the 85,000 is for one digital sign, and that, if you remember correctly, the report that came forward to council, I believe in September, Committee of the Whole in September, outlined some options for 3 different size signs. So there was the larger size, which the $85,000 would be. The medium size was about $45,000, and then there was smaller versions of the sign as well that was outlined in the report. Now, at that time, it was left for council's decision through the budget process if they were to decide that they would want more signs, less signs, that it would happen through this process. So I'll just leave that there.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to do a follow-up. So again, refresh my memory. I think we were moving to a 2-year program, once every 2 years from that decision in September.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Betabunkwer. That's correct, following the 2026. So we proposed in that report that there would be, the installation was going to take place this year, this fall. In 2025, there was going to be another installation in 2026 for 2025, and then from there we would propose every second year for a digital sign following that.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So that's what I remember as well. And if I go into the capital forecast for 2028 under admin, I don't see a digital sign there. So I'm just wondering, because it would seem to me that we would go every 2 years, 2028, 2030, that kind of thing.
That's correct. That's an oversight. Thank you.
Okay, so that would be something to be looked at. Thank you. I see the mayor is still catching his breath, so I'll carry on. One of the things we talked about at section under the Public Works budget dealing with water and wastewater, members of council may have seen a cybersecurity readiness expense, both for water and wastewater. It was a cybersecurity assessment. So for wastewater, it was $33,000, and for water, it was $20,000. So for $53,000, we were going to do a cybersecurity assessment on our two SCADA systems. So those are, as the director explained, those are our two computer systems that monitor and control the operations of our sewage treatment plant and our water treatment system. So it's very important that they're free of threats, or the threats are minimized. It was just the expense of doing that assessment. And I have a question for our director following that. I see also in the budget, and it was highlighted as part of the earlier presentation, we have updates to our SCADA system. So both for the water and wastewater, I think it's about 100,000 if I'm not mistaken, updates to our SCADA network replacement and upgrades, water and network replacement upgrades, both 100,000. I'm just wondering if under those two projects, we couldn't build in something dealing with the cyber security assessment. As you indicated to us at section, SCADA or another branch of the company that owns SCADA would actually be doing the cybersecurity inspection. I guess to simplify my question, we're going to be spending $200,000. Is there some way they could build in within that the cost of doing the cybersecurity inspection? Excuse me. It just seems like a lot of money.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Vadabancourt. So the different, so the cybersecurity assessment for both the water and wastewater SCADA systems, so those, that is separate and apart from the network upgrades that's required for the actual hardware itself. So each project is separate and apart, and those estimates for those projects have been provided by our SCADA services provider, which is Aramosa Engineering. We could certainly, definitely on the cybersecurity assessment component of it, we could definitely reach out to other providers. The estimate for the cybersecurity assessment was through CIMA, which is our SCADA services provider's parent company. But definitely there's options that could be explored prior to engaging that project, that we could see if there's other providers out there that do that service, and see if those costs are less than what we have budgeted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Or Mr. Director. Madam Chair, I'll take a break just to allow the mayor to go ahead.
Your worship, you have additional questions? Do any other members of council? I can put you in queue as well, just okay.
Actually, just Councillor Vadabancourt made me think of this. Brian, in reference to cybersecurity that Councillor Vadabancourt is talking about, I appreciate this about our SCADA, but this is all of our infrastructure, and we know other municipalities of Ontario, from libraries or water systems, have been affected. I'm wondering if we've looked at this from a whole network perspective, like if we've looked at the entire network from a cyber. Am I right, Brian, in assuming what Councillor Vadabancourt is asking? This is a once we're going to do the check, it's not an ongoing monitoring or ongoing threat assessment, just here it is and now?
Through you, Madam Chair, to his worship. So this would be a threat assessment or a maturity assessment. So it would be the cybersecurity experts would take a look at our system, do a threat assessment, do some probing assessments of our system. Our corporate and our SCADA networks are separate. So we do have cybersecurity in place on our corporate network. The SCADA and water networks are separate and apart from that. So there's two different providers for those services. So yes, this would be a one-time assessment. However, That's not to say that in 5 to 10 years, we could do another one to basically reevaluate our system based on the new environment, because the IT and cybersecurity environment could be quite different in 5 to 10 years' time. So I suspect that this won't be the last assessment that we'll need. It'll certainly be the first one we've ever completed, but I suspect that this will be an ongoing requirement based on the evolution of SCADA services.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question to the Treasurer. We've had conversations around this table about a dedicated contribution to the new recreation facility. I know that Council has approved the 1% allocation for the asset management. Have we taken any steps to build in a dedicated contribution to reserves for this new facility that will be occurring at some point in the future?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Veta-Bancourt. We have in the past had a dedicated capital contribution transferred to what we're now calling the MERC Reserve, Multi-Use Recreation Center Reserve. When the volume of capital projects on an annual basis exceeds what we have in terms of capital taxation dollars available, we have reduced it or removed it due to the priority of other capital projects. But certainly hearing from Council about their desire to build that reserve and increase it regularly. Off the top of my head, I can't remember what exactly is in there, but I do believe 2026 was removed. However, I doubled it, I believe, in 2027, more than doubled it. So it used to be a $75,000 dedicated contribution, which obviously is minimal. But again, we've got competing immediate capital taxation requirements. However, in 2027, I believe it has increased to 200,000 to offset the fact that we were trying to balance 26 and 27 to the capital taxation that is available on an annual basis. I hope that answers your question.
It does, and if you wouldn't mind, Madam Director, just to confirm that maybe for our next meeting, what we're contributing.
Sure, I'll summarize. It's in the 10-year capital plan, but obviously too many pages to go through right now. But sure, I'll bring a brief summary to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Deputy LaRose, go ahead.
Thank you. Just one question to Andrea. Could you tell me, I just can't recall, how many new builds for housing we had this year? I know we had the report a month ago.
Certainly, through you, Madam Chair, to the Deputy Mayor. The updated report will be out next week. However, there has been 4 new houses this year built. 4.
Any other comments or questions to staff with regards to the budget being presented here this evening? Your Worship, do you have another question? Please.
Thank you very much. So I guess my first one is maybe a comment, and maybe we'll see if Director Sherry Desjardins can help. I made my comment about Charles Scott Playground. I'm wondering if we can send that back for some options and bring that forward, or I feel strong about this, but I'd like to hear from you and what options are available for us as we move forward. So I'm just wondering how you would suggest we proceed with that item.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to remind Council, we do have a grant application in to support this initiative. One option is to leave it in the budget as is and report back when we know the outcome of the grant. Because if we are successful and if we take it out of the budget, then we will be handing money back that we've been awarded by the province. But happy to formalize a report and bring other options back.
Your Worship, did you?
Approximately how much would you suspect the funding will do? Is it a 50-50? Is it a 60-40? Just looking for clarity what that would look like.
If you just give me a second to. The subsidy line, yes.
Madam Chair, I would still love to get a report next time when we proceed, just because we potentially get $60,000 from the taxpayer. Doesn't mean we proceed. I still believe whether 60,000 came from the province, the feds, or the municipality, it's not a great spot for a children's playground. I still would love to see a report that it becomes a place to read a book. So I'd love to, I don't want to move it tonight, but I'd love to see if we can get a report in the future and we can decide on a future date.
So just for clarity, if this, because we are looking to come back on the 19th with a second draft of budget, are you asking that this be removed from this first draft here tonight with another, I don't know how to position this, if that's how we would look to do that it.
From my perspective, I'm happy to move a motion right now to say, can we remove it? All I'm saying is before we do that, I'm just saying, are there other options the director would like to explore and say, maybe we could do this instead, but.
Kelly, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What I'm hearing is the possibility of the request of a report being drafted for options of Charles Scott replacement project. And if it's the will of council to request that staff formulate a report, I would suggest that a motion, there be a mover and a seconder for that and vote be done on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so that moved by, Mayor Rawson, a seconder. Councillor Waters, all those in favor? Oh, comment, sorry, Councillor Badonko.
Thank you. And I think that having a report is a good idea. The thing that's been missing through this conversation is that playground structure may have reached the end of life. You know, in terms, these things do have a lifespan. It's been in place for 20 years, at least 20 years. And maybe if it's not replaced, then it might have to be removed just because from a safety perspective, it has to go. So I would just hope that that's going to be included as part of the review, because I think that's an important consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a good point as well. So all those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Your Worship, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm wondering, to the same context of what we just talked about, I'm going to ask Director Murray. We had some discussion about Lucy Street. I would like to see if, from your perspective, do you want us to move this night or do you want to come back with options in a report? I'm wondering if we can do the work, but not the extension, the 1.2 million. My analogy was the driveway. But could you make it in such a way that the infrastructure is there, stubs and whatever you need to do, that when or if development happens in 20 years, that is an easier path. So I'm happy to move that, but what would make it easier for your perspective?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson. That's definitely an option that could be pursued. Obviously, the infrastructure that's in place, the reconstruction of the initial block is the primary driver of the project. The packaging of the extension and the existing reconstruction of the first block was done in terms of cost savings in terms of economies of scale, packaging the two projects. However, if it is the will of council that we stay that extension portion, I would be in favor of that.
So thank you, Brian. Madam Chair, I'd move that Brian's words, the stay of the extension from the 2027 capital.
So we don't need to put anything else. Are you, sorry.
Again, I think I would defer to the clerk to see what method or approach she wants in terms of changes to operating or capital budgets.
Again, I would suggest that a motion be passed by council. I just need some clarity in terms of what portion of Lucy Street that you're referring to in terms of the extension. If I could just get some clarity on that, just to formulate a motion. Thank you.
So it would be the removal of the extension of Lucy Street from Jeffrey to Edward.
And do we need a motion for that? Yes, that's the motion. Okay, and moved by your worship, second by Councillor Waters. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Council, any other questions to senior leadership with regards to the first draft being presented to us this evening? Seeing your worship, so close.
Thank you. Brian, another question. H1146 transit bus replacement. My question. And I'm not going to predispose the decision process, and I thought you did a great job with the question today at the public session, so great job. My question, though, is the same question came up at county, and our friends to the south are looking for Line 7, the Bradford extension coming in. The delay is we can't get a bus. We've been asking this our second budget year. That council saying, put the money in, we want the bus. And staff is telling us it's not for 24 plus months. And they said, even if we had the budget this year, we might get it next year, no different than the fire truck analogy. So I see that we're putting in the budget for a transit bus. But my reality is, are we going to get a bus in 2026?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson. The idea or thinking behind the transit bus purchase in 2026, I'm well aware from talking to my county counterparts of the timelines it takes for the delivery of new transit buses. It's anywhere between 18 and 24 months. The proposed budget allocation would be for a refurbished bus, so that would be significantly less timelines, and that could be delivered in 2026. And that's also taking into consideration the work that's being done by our county counterparts in terms of their review of the transit service within the county of Simcoe, which is underway and ongoing. So that also had an eye to the decisions around potentially a regionalized transit service down the road.
Thank you. Follow up if I can. So thank you, Brian. So 450,000 is the receipt of a used bus sometime in 26, which probably is going to require more maintenance and more operating costs for us. What would a new bus cost then?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Mayor Rawson, based on my discussions from bus manufacturers and suppliers, anywhere between $700,000 and $800,000.
Any other members of council with questions or comments with regards to the first draft budget here this evening? Seeing none, keeping in mind that this is just the motion to round one of the draft, and we're back on the 19th with some addition. I guess, sorry, did I say something wrong?
No? Okay. Yeah, so we still need to vote on it, right? Yeah. So I just wanted to, yes. No, it's all good. Great. So we've had lots of questions, and thank you very much, senior leadership, for answering all those questions. So we'll just, as per the motion that's on the floor, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you so much. Any questions from the public or media? Anyone online? No? Okay, the Jays are playing tonight, so we maybe have got bumped this evening. Back to you, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great job. And echo great job to you and Carrie and all staff. That was tremendous. We're going to look for a motion to adjourn at 9:05 p.m. It's moved by Councillor Drush, second by Councillor Waters. All in favor? And we're adjourned. And Councillor, we're going to move right into our special All right, good evening, Council. We're going to call our special council meeting to order for Wednesday, October the 29th, 2025 at 9:06 p.m. Number 2 is the declaration of pecuniary interest. Council's any member have a declaration of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, move on. Number 3 is our approval of the agenda. We have a motion to read the agenda of the special council meeting of October the 29th, 2025 be approved as presented. It's moved by Councillor Waters, second by Deputy Mayor. Deputy Mayor, comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. We have one matter for consideration tonight, Council. It's regarding the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief. Thanks for having this on our agenda tonight, and I want to thank CO Lees, you and the team for bringing this forward. Council, as you know, our last the Snope meeting, it's not closed. At our last council meeting, we talked about the Lumex report and the move forward with what Lumex did between the town of Midland and the town of Penetanguishene. And that has created a vacancy with our fire chief role. Our CEO is looking for direction from staff to proceed. We did do budget round number 1 tonight with the increase of the budgetary request for the fire chief. But I did suggest to the CEO that to increase that complement from a 0.5 to 1.0, we need to move that and get council direction. So that's why we're here tonight, council, looking for council direction to support that so the CEO can move forward. We do have a motion before us tonight that we'd like to talk about and then move that forward. So before I read that, I'm going to open up to any comments or questions from council. Councillor Vadabunker.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this was a very interesting report. I read through it. I was looking at option 3 in terms of explore shared services with municipal partners. I know that obviously Midland is not an option, but I thought maybe our partners to the west. However, I went back and read the fire department feasibility study and looked at what they talked about in terms of the opportunities and risks by going with a shared services option, and it became clear to me that that really wasn't the best option. As much as I would have liked to have seen it be the best option, it just as you said, the Lumix report is very thorough and it really gave some good reasons. So, you know, I will be supporting the staff recommendation. I did want to speak, though, to the second part of the recommendation, and I'm not sure when the best time to do that. And it was with respect to hiring the third party to undertake the recruitment. And I'm just curious, I know there's a brief explanation in the report, but perhaps someone, either the CAO or the Director of Human Resources, could elaborate why they feel that's the best option at a cost of $25,000. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vedabunker. Elise, can you address the outsourcing for recruitment support, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Certainly happy to. And then if the Director of HR wants to elaborate or feels I've missed anything, with your support, I'd like to ask her to speak to it as well. I think it's a good question. We did speak to it briefly in the report. I think from my perspective and from our perspective, you know, we don't look at using a recruiter for all of our senior positions. There are vacancies in our senior leadership team. I can speak to my 9 years here, and I've been part of hiring 4, and we've not ever used a recruiter. I think it really is a case-by-case basis, particularly with the senior leadership positions. It's from my perspective, as I said, case-by-case. We're a small municipality. It's a tough recruitment environment in the emergency services sector for a number of different reasons. And certainly I've been able to validate that through conversations with colleagues of mine who have recently gone through this sort of exercise in this sector. From a third-party recruitment perspective, I think, you know, in a lot of cases, municipalities leverage third parties because they have access to candidate quality that by doing it in-house, we may not have access to. They've got access to potentially passive talent, where in our case, we don't have access to that talent. They've got opportunities and leads that they are continuously working with, meaning recruitment firms are continuously working with. They've got market expertise of candidates that, again, we as a municipality internally generally don't have access to. And I think the data and the studies have shown that, you know, recruitment firms generally are far more successful in bringing someone in, particularly to a role that is already a challenging environment to hire, than what you might be able to do internally. From my perspective, it's not a cheap exercise, and I don't want to downplay that because $20,000 or $25,000 is $20,000 or $25,000. But I think long term, I think it has the real potential to prove its worth and prove its effectiveness, particularly when you look at wanting to bring someone in for the long term for an organization. So that is just a few things that I would share. And, you know, a lot of times with these third parties, they do provide some guarantees in terms of if things don't work out. So that's just what I would share. I don't know if the Director of HR, through your indulgence, Mr. Mayor, if it's okay to pass along if she's got anything further to add, but I'll leave that in your hands. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine.
Yes, you've covered that very well, Jeff Lees. I can say that certainly we can post for the position and use various job boards and, you know, dedicated job boards to the fire services. But job boards and recruiting in that manner does really work for people that are looking for opportunities and looking to move. It does not really cover anyone, as Jeff Lees stated, that might be passive candidates that would maybe require some prompting and information in order to potentially make a decision to move elsewhere.
Thank you. Councillor Marchand.
It'd be interesting to know, because certainly, you know, we're saddened that we're losing Chief Renaud, but when we did that recruitment process, we did not use a third-party organization. And do we know approximately how long it took for us to fill that role?
Elise?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Councillor Marchand. I don't know the exact timeline, but I do know that it was not a single process. We did go back out to the market a second time with that particular exercise, of which case we were fortunate enough to hire Chief Renault. But it was a vacancy for a period of time. We did have a little bit of heads up from the outgoing candidate, which helped. Given the retirement, there was an opportunity to provide a bit more notice, but so hopefully that answers or helps Councillor Marchand.
Council, any other comments or questions? Councillor Waters.
If we were to do the recruitment in-house and it took a little longer to get somebody, how is the town capable of operating without a fire chief and only relying on our deputy fire chief? And if so, for how long?
Good question. I think it's contingency plans, CLEs.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Waters. Certainly, we have a deputy chief that is given the authority in the Act and in the appointment bylaw to exercise, in this particular case, his duties in the same manner as which the chief can. Of course, for a number of reasons, essentially operating as a one-person department, you always, whether it be fire or any other department, in particular in an emergency service sector, you want to minimize that period of time, of course. And it's not as much about the timeline as it is finding the right candidate for the organization, which I think we've tried to articulate the value add in looking at and having someone externally provide that expertise as opposed to doing it in-house. So hopefully that helps answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you. I'll just say from my lens, and I think you were saying this, Councillor Vetebunker, there was other options that would have been neat to explore, but the reality is it's going to be hard to find the relationship or a 0.5 individual to take this role. I think the reality is we are where we are. I think from my reality, it's hard to have a 0.5 chief for 10 years, then all of a sudden today we're making this change, but it is reality. So I do think we need to move forward and support this as written. I do agree with Councillor Vetebunker. Can we not explore doing this internally? I think we have strength and depth with our HR team. I would feel strongly we could do that. I think we articulated, we did recruit Chief Renault. So seeing any other comments or questions from anybody, we'll move on with the motion. That the Director of Fire and Emergency Services Fire Chief position transition from a part-time shared role to full-time with a net increase of approximately $95,000 be approved. And that authorization be provided to the CAO to execute the recruitment and hiring of the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief through engage in a professional third-party recruitment firm with an upset limit of $25,000. We'll look for a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Roux. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Moving on, number 5 is questions from the media and public. Sarah, there's no one online, no one here. We'll look for a motion to adjourn at 9:18.